Hey, welcome to another instructional video on loveyourpencil.com, and this document is available on the web page at loveyourpencil.com for nouns. Just go to the website and do a search for nouns and you'll get it. The links are on the right. So the purpose of this particular lesson is not really to go into the basics of nouns, because we all learned in elementary school that nouns are people, places, or things. And this is sort of a clear concept. If you say dog, we know that's a noun. If you say shoe, we know that's a noun. So this is going to get into the more complicated part of it. And the reason why we're doing this is because parts of speech, the whole reason why we do parts of speech is because parts of speech are the tools of the trade in writing. And if you don't know what they are and how to identify and use them, it's like being a plumber and not knowing what a pipe and a faucet are. All right, so let's just get right into it. So we all learned that a noun is a person, place, or thing. For example, if it's alive, it's a noun. Like Julia, Fluffy the cat, a tree, Mr. LaPaglia. These are all nouns because they're alive. And places are all nouns, like Philadelphia, school, office, and so forth. Okay, so we pretty much know this. But here are the more sort of interesting ways to look at nouns. If you can touch it, it's a noun. That's easy. So a pencil, a computer, Pikes Peak, those are all nouns. But here are some more things that you may never have really thought about. And these are more sort of abstract. We're getting into what are called abstract nouns. Concrete nouns are nouns you can touch, like desk or water. Those are concrete nouns. But abstract nouns you really can't touch. Here are some examples. All right, so for example, games, by the way, are all nouns, like poker, music. Well, music isn't a game, but if you can play it, it's a noun. Soccer, football, and so forth. And here's what are called abstract nouns. If you can imagine it, it's a noun. Like if you can imagine moonlight, if you can imagine morning, it's a noun. If you can see it or smell it, it's a noun. So, for example, you can see smoke. You can't touch it. Well, you can, but it's a noun because it's something you can see. If you feel it inside, like an emotion, emotions are all nouns, like anger, fear, excitement. Those are all nouns. Don't get something like the word anger. Anger is a noun, but if you would say angry, that's an adjective, which we're going to go into in the video about adjectives. But the noun form of emotions like love, passion, hatred, those are all nouns. And here are some more abstract nouns. If you can fight against it or you can fight for it, those are all nouns, like evil, dishonesty, love, truth, justice. You see, you can't touch these things, but they're still nouns. They're still things. So you're thinking, well, how is kindness a thing? But in terms of grammar, it's the same thing. The word kindness is the same part of speech as something like light bulb, believe it or not. So that because they're called abstract nouns. All right, so here is now most sentences have nouns, and this is what we're going to do when it comes to the parts of speech. We're going to put N's in circles over every noun. That's how we're going to show that we understand that this word is a noun. So here are some examples: Patrick, tennis, dogs, sister, St. Petersburg. These are all nouns. And we're going to get to pronouns in a minute. Just for purposes of this, I want you to show pronouns as nouns. So let's move on this document. So the first thing you're going to do is show everybody that you understand this. And so you're going to identify nouns in these sentences by putting an N in a circle over every word that's a noun. So Edward is a noun. Orchids is a noun. Get it? Perfection is a noun. Music is a noun, and you're going to put an N over in a circle. Put an N in a circle over every word that is a noun. And just do that for these 8 sentences. The next page is a little bit more fun. You're going to be creating a funny or a silly short story about anything. It doesn't matter what it is, but you can't write anything that glorifies illegal activity. And here's what the word glorify means. You should read it. This is a word you should know. In other words, you can't write a story about a man who becomes rich by killing people and selling cocaine, all right, because you're glorifying illegal activity. So just make up a story about anything. The more fun, the weirder, the better. And then when you're done, go back, just like it shows here, go back and in your story, circle an N over every word that's a noun. And that's what's on this page. And then, okay, the next page, this is homework. This is, you're going to show everybody you can do this on your own. Just create 10 sentences. And then identify each noun in the sentence by putting an N and a circle over it. It doesn't have to be that difficult. I mean, you can type something like, I really like pizza. You know, I mean, it doesn't have to be a massive, complicated sentence. And just write them down. Just show that you can create a sentence and you understand which are the nouns. And just turn that in. The next thing we're going to talk about are pronouns. Pronouns replace or take the place of nouns. A pronoun is a type of noun. And the reason why there are pronouns, it's not really clear. It's one of those sweet mysteries of languages. But we do use pronouns. You should read this on your own. There's just a regular old story, a short little story about a scene at somebody's house, at Veronica's house. And here's the same scene without any pronouns. And it's actually really funny. Like the first sentence said, Veronica went into her house and put her books down on the table. But if there were no pronouns, the sentence would read, Veronica went into Veronica's house and put Veronica's books down on the table. It sounds very strange because there are no pronouns in this particular paragraph. And it just sounds weird. So it's important to use pronouns. You're going to use pronouns like I and she and her and so forth to replace nouns. But the one thing you really have to be careful of is that you need to make sure that you don't have something called a vague pronoun reference. And vague, here's what it means, not clear. When you have a pronoun, it refers to a noun. For example, Mike really likes his Mustang. Okay, his is the pronoun. It obviously refers to Mike. He washes it every week. Well, it is the pronoun. It obviously refers to the Mustang. That's called a pronoun reference. This is the pronoun, and what it refers to is Mustang. That's called the pronoun reference. Here's he. It's a pronoun. What's the pronoun reference? Mike. It's referring to Mike. All right, and so sometimes, I mean, it's important to make sure that your pronouns are clear, that they refer to something that it's clear what they refer to. So here's an example of a vague pronoun reference. Jeff and Bob crashed their father's car when they were on their way home, and he broke his wrist. Who is he? This is the vague pronoun reference. Who is he? Is it Jeff or Bob? Like, this pronoun is clear. This pronoun reference is clear, but his is not clear. You don't know who his is referring to. A little bit later on, it shows how to fix vague pronoun references. It tells you how to fix them. And then now what you're going to do is you're going to take a look at this story. We're on page 10. You're going to take a look at this story right here. And what you're going to do when you read it, you're going to see that there is a bunch of vague pronoun references. Like, for example, she. This she, you don't know who this is talking about. After you read it, what you're going to do for homework is you're going to rewrite this story, just this here. You're going to rewrite this story so that it's clear, so that the pronoun references are clear. And there's not one right or wrong way to do it. Just rewrite this story so that it's clear exactly who people are talking about, in other words. And so when you get done this, and your teacher says that you did everything in this booklet well, then you know that you are becoming an expert on identifying and working with nouns. And thanks a lot for watching the video, and I'll see you again in another one.